Hello, beloved. It's the pastor's message for Wednesday, December 5th. As we responded to the word in reflection on Sunday, we were hearing about and thinking about and pondering our response to our neighbors in need at the border and how God calls us to acts of mercy and of compassion, of healing, of uniting and not dividing. So today I wanted to talk a little bit more specifically about specific things that you might be called to do, specific things for you to bring to prayer, to consider and discern where exactly what you might be called to do in response to our neighbors at our nation's borders. First and foremost, both of our denominations, the ELCA and the Episcopal Church, have formal branches within the church to help us to respond to immigrants and refugees around the world. In the Lutheran Church, it's LIRS, and I believe it's lirs.org, and that stands for Lutheran Immigration and Refugee Services. And in the Episcopal Church, it is EMM.org, Episcopal Migration Ministries. And both of those branches work at our nation's borders and all around and within our nation to help immigrants and refugees. So if your response of compassion and mercy is one of financial means, then I would suggest you going to either of those places or both of those places and determining how you can put your wealth and your gifts to work with those resources. Another thing is that legislation is what controls how we as a nation respond to immigrants and refugees here in our nation and our nation's borders, and somewhat how we respond diplomatically around the world. So one of the things that we can all do is to talk to our representatives in government at different levels to ask them to respond in a way that we believe lines up with our gospel truth and lines up with how God is calling us to respond to our neighbors in need. And on that same note, this topic comes up in our personal conversations with family and with friends and as we are around the community. So one of the ways that we can respond is as this topic comes up, if each of us is willing to speak the gospel truth as we know it and understand it in those conversations. Now, not to argue, not to prove someone else to wrong, but to simply call on the Holy Spirit to empower us to be able to speak the gospel truth as we know and understand it as this conversation comes up about how do we respond to our neighbor in need. And you can say those truths as you know them, and as you experience them and understand them. And then the next step is that I'm going to bring up is this idea about knowing and understanding our gospel truth. So what are the tools and the resources that we have to deepen our understanding of what it is that God is calling us to do? And that, of course, is studying the Word. And we do that in all manner of ways, as we did last Sunday at worship, but also in Bible study. And as you read the Bible at home, as you reflect and learn, and as you have conversations with other people about your understanding of what you're reading in the text. And of course, prayer is a powerful tool as well. Prayer in helping us to understand the Word. Prayer in helping us to hear what God is calling and asking us to do. Prayer and being able to see where God is already at work in the neighborhood, in the world around us, and how we can participate. And then prayer, asking the Holy Spirit to empower and equip us to go ahead and to live into that call of Jesus, to walk this way of love and to follow Jesus as we go and cross boundaries as Jesus did in order to bless others and in order to share what we know of God's love to our neighbors in need. So that's my message for this week. I wanted to give you some nuggets to expand on what we talked about and heard on Sunday, and to consider and bring to your prayer life and with Jesus, and deepen your relationship with Jesus, how you specifically are being called to respond to our neighbor in need. And of course, another way that we can always respond to our neighbor in need is to invest in what's happening here at the beloved community, because those investments, whether it's of time, talent, or treasure, those investments help us as a faith community to respond to our neighbors in need and well. As we discern, as we do all those same things, study the Word, prayer, listen to where the Holy Spirit is calling us as a faith community to respond to our neighbors and needs at the borders. May you have a blessed rest of the week, and I look forward to seeing you this second Sunday of Advent. And remember, we only have one service. The second Sunday is when we come together. Both the 8 and the 10 o'clock services come together, and we worship and give thanks to God together on a Sunday morning. Also, this Sunday evening from 5 to 6 p.m., we will host a Labyrinth Walk at our Centered Being services. It is our only December gathering for the Centered Being, and again, it's a Labyrinth Walk, 5 to 6 p.m. If you enter by the second set of doors, you will find us right there. Have a blessed day. Peace and light to you all. Bye-bye.